morning everybody and welcome to chapel. Many of you will be familiar with this book by Charlie Mackesy called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. The boy, the mole, the fox and the horse are four friends who share a deep, unshakable bond. It's a book about having courage in difficult times, about love and friendship and how that builds resilience, which gives the book its universal appeal. It's a beautiful book. I was given a copy of it a few months ago as a present, and I enjoy just sitting in the evenings in the quiet and looking through it. If you haven't seen any of the illustrations, I would highly recommend it. You can find them all on his Instagram account if you are on social media. Since the pandemic began, Mackesy has started doing other illustrations featuring medical staff, teachers, bin collectors, bus drivers, and his drawings have also been made into t-shirts for comic relief. Someone has described him as the patron of the current situation, with thousands of people looking at his daily illustrations on Instagram. As well as these illustrations, he's also produced beautiful paintings over the years, some of which echo his Christian faith. And as I was looking through his pictures on his website, a series of paintings particularly stood out, one called The Prodigal Daughter and another one called The Return of the Prodigal Son. And I thought it would be a good story to think about for our chapel today. The parable of the prodigal son is a familiar story, I'm sure, to many people, and it's a story that Jesus told, a parable, a story if you like, to help the people learn more about the nature and character of God. There was once a man who had two sons. One day, the youngest son decided that he wanted to go his own way, so he asked his father for his share of his inheritance. Although this made the father sad, he gave him the money, and the youngest son went off and spent it, wasted it on wine and women and fast living. Eventually, he was reduced to looking after the pigs, something which at that time represented really quite shameful behaviour. And at that point, he decided that he would go back to his father and say, "Father, I'm sorry that I have rejected you. I've sinned against you. I realise I'm not worthy to be called your son, but please let me come back into your home as your hired help." And so the son set off for home. Meanwhile, the father had been watching and waiting for his son, and when he saw him coming from far off, he ran towards him, flung his arms around him, and welcomed him back. The son begged the father for forgiveness. He said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father called his servants and he said, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and let's kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost, but now he's found." And so the party and the celebration, the rejoicing over the return of the lost son took place. In Mackesy's illustrations of this story, he's written some words behind the pictures, and this is what the words say. Depending on whether you're looking at the picture of the daughter or the son, they say, "This is the story of the prodigal son," or "This is the story of the prodigal daughter." It should really be called the running father, who waited every day for his boy to return. The pictures that Mackesy has drawn show a father who has picked up his daughter and is carrying her, and a father surrounding his son with love. Pictures which remind us and help us think about the character of God in this wonderful story, which illustrates God's love and forgiveness for everyone, no matter who we are or what we've done. The illustrations of the prodigal son and the prodigal daughter also reminded me of a poem called Footsteps, which I shall read in a minute. But before that, I would encourage you to go and look up the illustrations of Charlie Mackesy if you're not already familiar with them. And as you do so, remember the story, the wonderful story of the prodigal son. And so by way of reflection today, I would like to read the poem Footprints. It's one that we've had in chapel on many occasions, and for the past few years I've given a copy of it to all of our sixth form leavers at our leavers service at the end of the year. it would seem a good poem to remind ourselves of during these difficult times. One night, I dreamed a dream. I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one to my Lord. When the last scene of my life shot before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. There was only one set of footprints. I realised that this was at the lowest and saddest times of my life. This always bothered me, and I questioned the Lord about my dilemma. Lord, you told me when I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. But I am aware that during the most troublesome times of my life, there is only one set of footprints. I just don't understand why, when I need you most, you leave me. He whispered, "My precious child, I love you and will never leave you. During your trials and testings, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you." And so do please join in with saying the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.